also contributed to segregation, right? Which I know is something you guys are talking about and is important to talk about, is we are one of the most segregated regions in the entire country. So this map, you can see where green is black, and that is the city of Detroit is about 80% black. And then we have about 10% Hispanic or Latinx here in Southwest Detroit. And this is Hamtramck. You can actually see Asian, and Asian is interesting because it also includes Indian and Bangladeshi and a wide variety. It covers a lot of different in our demographics. And then you can see our suburbs are about 75% white. And so this is there's a whole bunch of resources on 50 years after 67, and it really shows how we actually had made some progress, and then we backtracked. And so how and why does that happen? Well, when you have a 2 square mile place, it's easier to keep people out that aren't like you. And even after, and so I would also say, so in 1968, I mentioned the Fair Housing Act passed. So now restrictive covenants are, don't work anymore. You can't keep people out that aren't like you as easily. And so that is actually part of the reason, consciously or not consciously, that many people moved to the suburbs, because it was easier to have homogenous communities in smaller suburban communities, right? So that is a big part of having 131 communities, why it's affected us, and the housing stock as well. So these are, not uncommon to see the empty houses in Detroit, and we've seen demolitions, and there's all kinds of conversations around what to do and how to do it. But I think it's important to remember, if we go back to this population history, that much of this was recent, and most of it caused by the housing crisis, or the first big push, I should say, because in 2000, Detroit had about 1 million people. By 2010, just over 700,000. That's more than a quarter. It's about 30% of the population loss in 10 years, because the housing crisis, what really exasperated the overbuilding that we had in the region. Because this wasn't just that Detroit had foreclosures then. This was that you have 131 communities, we're going to build more houses. No, we are. We had competition, and the suburbs competing against each other for property taxes. So they kept building up and up and up and out and out and out, and we overbuilt as a region because there's no regional collaboration or government to say, hey, don't build that. We don't need that many houses. We built about 1,000 houses a year above and beyond population needs for about 50 years. So think about that. What happens if you build 50,000 houses more than you have people, and then you don't invest or provide resources for the older houses that need more fixing up? So we actually saw African-American middle-class families and middle-class neighborhoods in Detroit that had not seen high levels of vacancy struggle for the first time, because a lot of people were able to buy foreclosed home at foreclosed prices in the suburbs, right? So again, we can go into all this during the conversation part, but really quick to end on some programs and some things that are happening in response to, so what do we do with the empty land? What do we do with some of the empty houses? And so this is a Fitzgerald, the Fitz Forward Project and Century Partners, led by David Alade here. And Fitzgerald is in Northwest Detroit, and some of you might live near there. It's this area of Detroit is one of the densest parts of the city, from the Lodge to 8 Mile and the Avenue of Fashion here, and 14 different neighborhoods surrounding this, and some of the most again dense and low vacancy areas around here. And then Fitzgerald was hit extremely hard during the housing crisis, and now has half of the property is vacant. So they're actually looking at, there's so much investment money, there's foundation money, everyone's really focusing lots of different ideas and plans, and asking the community what they want here. So they're renovating some homes, they're revitalizing some lost, idea of using green space as an asset, and not just as a negative to a neighborhood or in the city. Demolished some homes. They've added the park. They've added Ella Fitzgerald Park, which is a beautiful 2.5 acre park there.